Hey everybody, doing another video today on why exactly I collect classical music. I'm going to be doing a couple of videos in the future of just like musical thoughts, and, maybe top 10 lists and stuff like that, just because it's what I do. I got really nothing better to do with my spare time other than compose music and watch horror movies. So, basically, somebody had commented on one of my videos not that long ago that, it's really great that, somebody's showing off classical music, which I never really thought about it, watching the YouTube videos, and not a lot of people do show off classical music collections. And then I had a bunch of people that I work with, which also watch my videos, and I'm thankful for them. They were asking, how, you listen to a ton of different music, but how did you really get into classical? You're 26 years old, you were born in 1990, how did that really come about? And I think it had to do with a lot of different things, really. My dad always told me to keep a really open mind while listening to music. And I played guitar from the time I was 12 to now, and a ton of different instruments. And I was always interested in different things, part of the music, how I got into classical music was, my dad actually suggested that I listen to Steve Howe. He really, thought that Steve Howe was the most well-rounded guitar player there was out there. And amazingly enough, he is. He's been nominated for Best All-Around Guitar Player, 7 years in a row by Guitar Player magazine. I think he even got retired. He's just that good. And after, hearing about Steve Howe, I started reading interviews with Steve Howe and how he was really influenced by a lot of different classical music and classical guitar players and country guitar players. I also have a really large country collection. A lot of Chet Atkins, Merle Travis. But anyway, moving back into the classical end of things, my first concert was Jethro Tull, probably around the time I was 12 or 13. It was in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, and it was a great concert. My mom and my dad had taken me, and we had sat in the rain for an hour and a half because Jethro Tull was late, and Ian Anderson was a little tipsy that night because it's Bethlehem. Drink. Anyway, that really set me up, hearing him play the flute, and then hearing all these classical sounds come through in a rock band, and on top of that, being influenced by Steve Howe, as far as classical coming through in a rock band. I had really liked it, and my parents one night had seen a documentary on Christopher Parkening and Andre Segovia. And they told me, "Oh, you got to hear this guy Segovia," and they were really, amazed by him that, they went out and bought me an Andre Segovia CD. The first song I had actually heard was, I believe, Alhambra, and I'm saying, I told my dad, I'm like, there's got to be more than one guitar player, and that's him. That's one guitar player making all of that. It just blew my mind. The classical music's always blown my mind as far as, beauty and technical prowess and such diversity. And that's basically why I started collecting classical vinyl. Once I had started collecting vinyl, because I actually didn't start collecting vinyl, but probably I was 17 or 18, probably more like 18, because I think I was out of high school. Basically one day, I'd always wanted vinyl ever since I was young. And my dad was always said, "Why would you want to buy vinyl? Nobody uses that anymore. It's a dying format." And one day I walked into this eBay store. It's not even there anymore. And the guy had a ton of records. I says, "Are they selling?" "No." So I'll tell you what, you give me 20 bucks, you could take all of them. And there was 50, 60 records. and most of them were classical and bluegrass. And I bought them, and from then on, it was all over. I bought thousands upon thousands of records between metal, jazz, and bluegrass, and country. It's just it's never ending. I get to a certain point and I sell it off, and then I get more. But I've always kept my classical records. I don't know why. It's one of those things where, you know, I listen to classical quite a bit. Mostly when I'm thinking, you know, there's always classical on or jazz on, a lot of instrumental stuff. So basically, you know, that's been my journey as far as collecting classical music. And it's been an interesting one. Some things, you know, you get the most of the composers, and you listen to them, you know, your Beethoven, Vivaldi, and then you slowly get into different stuff, you know, especially if you go to the Goodwill or, you know, Salvation Army, and, you know, there's a ton of classical music and nobody wants it, you know, so you get your pick of crazy stuff, you know, Dvorak. Nobody listens to Dvorak, you know, even as far as Debussy or Chopin. Or, I was showing somebody, actually my first video, Horowitz. I'd never even heard of Horowitz. Liszt, you know, and you take like this huge trip back in time, you know, of a time when, you know, there are musicians out there that literally live from transcript to transcript, and, you know, you were either good or you went back to being a pauper. And that's what they did, and they made amazing music, and that's what came out. So I have to respect it, and that's why I collect it, and it's so moving, you know, too. I think that it even comes into today. You know, most modern ambient musicians and composers listen to a ton of classical music. Vangelis, you know, made these records of electronic music, but it was set up like a symphony, you know, which is great. You know, that's why I respect Vangelis a lot. Or even, you know, Tangerine Dream. If you listen to Tangerine Dream and you listen to, you know, a lot of chorale music, it's basically the same stuff. You know, it's just these tone poems that are quite amazing. So don't ever, you know, knock on classical music, because it influences so many different people, you know, and it'll influence you too if you open up your mind to it. And definitely check out some of the classical music, because it literally transcends time, you know, I think personally. So if you have any comments, please leave them below, and hopefully I will be getting back to you soon. Bye.